All right. Well, thanks. So happy to have Scott here tonight. Um, this is a great series that we've been doing it for a few years now called CMC Sessions. This year is all about what inspires us as teachers and as musicians. So it's kind of a nice jumping board, a place to go and talk about, to tell our interesting stories. One of the things I love about the series is just to find out how like amazing our faculty is. We got a few more coming up next week, as Chantel said. We got Charlie Girk, Irene Chagall, Susan Pena, Miguel Govea, and John Jang's going to be coming in a few weeks. It's going to be once every 2 weeks on Thursdays, every other week, 8-part series. And also want to let you know that we're going to be having a question and answer session at the end. If you have any questions for Scott, please put them in the chat and I will like take notes and I'll check on the notes and then we'll come back and Scott's done with his presentation and we can go through those one by one and I'll kind of lead that. And also to let you know that the clips you're going to be seeing, so Scott has some music that he's going to share with us of stuff that he's played. And I think all the clips are from, oh, wait. Mute that maybe. Thanks. He has every third Friday, every month at a place called Bird and Beckett. Bird and Beckett, like the bird that flies and Beckett, the author, bookstore, every third Friday at happy hour, 5:30 to 8 in San Francisco. And he's been playing for many years with Americano Social Club, B3, B4. He's out there a lot playing. He's produced a lot of CDs, including Basement Symphonica, Go Small, Night Blooming Jasmine. They're all available. But if you want to check it out, I'm actually going to go. Maybe not. Yeah, maybe this month to the Bird and Beckett and check it out. So I'd like to pick up some of his CDs too. And he's been teaching at the Music Center for a really long time. Like myself, he's been leading the YMP Jazz Student Ensemble every Saturday for over 20 years. It's an amazing ensemble. We had a collaboration. I work with MDYMP, the Mission District's Young Musician Program, and we had a collaboration. It was wonderful to see what great musicians he has and what a great educator Scott is. And anyway, and oh, by the way, they're going to be playing at the gala on April 24th. The kids from his YMP program, the Jazz YMP program, on April 24th. So don't miss the gala. And also, just if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and we'll address those after Scott's done with his presentation. So Scott Foster, please.
Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for being here. It's truly an honor to be part of this and just to hear that list of other great participants for this program. It really hits home even more what an honor it is to be part of it and to be kicking it off and talking about inspirations. As Traeger said, I've been at the Community Music Center for over 20 years. In fact, it's it's definitely my longest professional association of my career, and it's something I'm very proud of that work and happy to be part of it. One of the other things that I've been doing for a really long time is playing Friday nights at the Bird and Beckett bookstore, and we just had a big celebration in October, celebrating 20 years of that going on, and I've been part of all of that, and that's been a real blessing. And it's also given me the ability to have a wide variety of collaborations over the years there. When I started there, I was a dedicated sideman. for a group of musicians. And eventually I got my own date. And a lot of the bands there will have a band that they play with there. And I kind of made the decision right away that I wanted to change it up every time I got to play there and bring in a new batch of people. And that's turned out to be just a really important part of my development as a musician. Also, to back it up, or just infuse this statement here, it's a little bit of a disclaimer statement, but one of the main reasons I am excited about collaboration is to bring others to the fore and be supportive and learn from them. And so having a whole evening here talking about me is not necessarily my comfort zone, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just talk about Scott Foster for a while. So hang tight with that. So as I was saying, collaboration has been the thing that has caused me the most growth in my musicianship. When I started, I basically am a garage musician. I learned how to play guitar in my neighbor's garage, and once I could bang out a few chords and learned one scale, I thought I had it all together. And later on, when I went to college, I was asked to join the gospel choir backing band. And it really opened my eyes to a whole other world of music that I was only peripherally aware of. And it helped that, and hearing great improvisers in the genres that I was more familiar with, like Carlos Santana and Jimi Hendrix and all the people, kind of led me to jazz. And I started to have this fantasy that I was going to be this great jazz guitarist, and I was just going to drop everything else and just do jazz, and that's what I was going to do. And I tried to do that for a while, and I learned a lot, and I'm comfortable in the idiom, and I love that music. But later in life, I kind of decided that there's just too much more out there, and I didn't want to keep, as much as I love, I don't know, I was going to insert a dish, fettuccine. I didn't want to eat it every single night, So I kind of allowed myself to open up and to try different things. And a big part of that has been inviting in different collaborations into my world and using them for inspiration. So the way this is going to go is I'm going to talk a lot about me, and then I'm going to play some clips of me playing music. And we're going to go to one of those clips right now. This is back on October 22nd, just this past fall, was the 20th anniversary of Friday Night Music at the Bird and Beckett bookstore. And like I said, I've been there since the beginning. And so to celebrate that, we had a night where I ran two different bands. I ran an early band and a late band. And we're going to start with the early band, which is a traditional jazz band. It's sort of my fantasy group that I was talking about. Like, I'm going to play straight ahead, and that's going to be my thing. And so I was really lucky to have this great band come join me in October. And Chantel's going to bring up this clip that features Mike Olmos on trumpet, local legend, Omar Aran on the drums, and Matt Montgomery on the bass. And here we are playing a Benny Golson tune called Stablemates, just to kind of prove that I could play hard jazz music, which was my goal.
That's a guess. All right, we love Benny Golson, so we're going to play some.
Maybe we'll have Chantel trim it here. I'm going to struggle with the balance of how much to talk and how much of clips to play, so hopefully I'll strike a balance there. And if I didn't do it earlier, and I'm not sure that I did, I really, really want to thank Traeger and Chantel for all their help behind the scenes and for making this happen. Lots been going into this. We didn't just show up and magically it works. So thank you for all that hard work. So that's it. That's the Scott Foster Fantasy right there. The group, get the cats out and play the standards and play the hard bebop tunes. But my reality is, like I said, I was born in the garage, and this next clip I have is will give you more of a flavor for that type of roots, for my roots that come from a little bit more, a little bit less cerebral place. Let's put it that way. I think that's the best way to say it. It's a little bit more rootsy. I wrote this song for a pianist who we call Whalebone. And so this one's called Shunkle Fuffy Whale, and it's with a band called the New Squatulas. And the New Squatulas basically play music from New Orleans, although we've really kind of, over the years, added things to the repertoire that include a lot of original music and some other funkier types of things, but it's all coming from more rootsy place, and the roots for this band is New Orleans. And I think you'll notice that this collaboration causes me to approach music in a different way, and I think it'll be readily apparent that this is quite different. So this is the New Squatulas. Clip number 2 is the New Squatulas' Shunkle Fuffy Whale, a song that I wrote for my friend Tom Whalebone.
It's called Shunkle Fuffy Whale.
probably wind this one down here too if we want. Yeah. So quite a bit different there. That is a lot closer to what was going on in my buddy Ken Rosen's garage back in the day. I wanted to talk a little bit about the videos you're seeing are really from the last few years. Once the pandemic hit, it became necessary to really figure out a way to digitize the stuff of the first 16 or 17 years of this gig. It was like either you showed up in Glen Park on a Friday night and caught it, or it was gone forever. So most of the stuff you're seeing is over the last couple years. But collaboration has put me in places that sometimes I look up and I can't believe, like, what am I doing here? Like, some that come to mind is we had a night over there where it was John Santos and all of his cronies getting deep into the Afro-Cuban jazz, and here was this garage rock and roll guitar player like playing along with them. So I mean, moments like that they're kind of priceless and very, 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 very inspirational for a musician. I always tell my students the best kind of situation you get into is when you're the most challenged musician on the bandstand. If you can have a situation where everybody's killing it around you, that's really, really good. So look for those opportunities, and I've been fortunate to have a bunch of those in my life. We're gonna get to another clip here in just a second, and this collaboration sort of is meant to represent what can be really unexpected. This is a collaboration that I did not really just a few months ago with Beth Shank, really incredible saxophonist and composer in the Bay Area. And we called it a composer's conclave, when we were just going to kind of throw out a couple of her tunes, a couple of my tunes, put a band together and see what happened. And I kind of went into it with this mindset of, I don't want to know anything about Beth Shank until we sit together and like start pulling out paperwork and looking at each other's music. So I really was a little bit of a blank slate and potentially very naive about what I was getting into. But what I discovered, and this often happens in collaboration, this is why I'm promoting it here for all musicians, was that the music that she wrote was able to pull things out of me that were really unexpected, and most definitely brought me to a place that I would never have gotten to on my own. There's no way. You can hear sort of where I go. I can go to like a bluesy shuffle. I can play a little bit of jazz standards, but to be exposed to this type of writing just spoke to me in a way that I had a close friend come up and say, "Man, we've played a lot together. I've never heard you play like that." And it felt true. It felt like it was only because of the collaboration that I did made some of the choices that I made. And so maybe we should go to that clip. This one I was thinking about letting run a little bit longer, only because it gives you an opportunity to hear the collaborator. A lot of these are like, "Hey, here's Scott playing with a bunch of different people," and that'll have some of this in here too, but maybe we'll get to hear a little bit more of the group play. So we'll see how patient I am. Let her rip. She calls this Rodney's song. Rodney's song. Maybe we'll cut it here, as painful as that is. It's hard to stop some of this, and easier to stop some of the rest. Sorry if that broke anybody's spell there. I'm mindful of the clock here, and I'm just trying to keep it moving. Hey, all this stuff is available on YouTube. If you go to the Bird and Beckett YouTube, you can listen to your heart's delight. This next piece that I wanted to play is definitely one of those examples of like, how did I get here and how awesome is this? It's a collaboration with the great saxophonist and composer Bruce Ackley, who is a founding member of the Rova Saxophone Quartet, an internationally recognized improvisation group. If you don't know about Rova, you should really find out about the Rova Saxophone Quartet. Bruce Ackley is at the heart of that group, and as I told him that night, and actually I think I told him a couple times because I wanted him to be clear, he has, in all of these collaborations, as disparate as they sound, they all have elements of the same language, and there's dialects and there's this and that, but there's recognizable, oh yeah, I know this from that other place, and there's little bits and pieces of breadcrumbs that I can follow. With Bruce's music, it's his own language. When you go to play some of this music that Bruce Ackley wrote and performs, there's none of that. It's you just have to accept where it's at and try to deal with it on its own terms, because you can't reference back and say, oh yeah, that came from Johnny Griffin and that other thing was part of, a Ray Charles thing. There's none of that. And so this next clip that you're going to hear is from a performance I did with Bruce Ackley, his friends Pete Schmidt and David Brandt, and they have a little group that he plays with on the side, and they inserted me in the middle of it. And we're doing a song called "The Owl" by Steve Lacy, and basically it's basically a song. All of the instructions, there's no written notes. It's all a story about walk through a forest and you encounter an owl and several things happen along the way, and it's meant to evolve through the story. And I think you'll notice that this is quite a bit different than any of the stuff we've checked out before, and a definite inspiration of a collaboration. Let's let it go. Yeah, we might need to cut this off at some point too, probably. Oh man. Yeah. Gotta admit, in my old age, I'm getting way, way more into the weird stuff. The weirder the better, kind of. And again, just to bring it back to the center here, that's it because of collaboration. Had I not been so keen to collaborate with so many different people, I could have easily been stuck in just kind of playing straight ahead all the time, and that would have been great, and it's awesome, but it also isn't my real truth as a musician. So I'm just, again, so grateful for all these collaborations and how they've opened me up and also let me discover new parts of myself that, I'm sure they're in there, but they weren't coming out in my practice room. It wasn't anything that, right, I'm down here in my little studio, I could pick up my guitar right now, and a lot of that stuff I was never going to access that without the help of great collaborators. So I'm so thankful for those opportunities. Another thing that I'm thankful for is sometimes a collaboration can do a lot of good for others. And the next little clip that I want to play is something that we called a reunion for peace. This was about a calendar year ago, and it's in the news, so I'm sure you guys are aware of that. We just passed an anniversary of this awful war that's going on. And we decided to do this reunion for peace. It's with the great, these are heroes, local heroes of mine, really international stars also in their own right. Darren Johnston on trumpet and Marcus Shelby on bass. And we used to do a little gig over at a restaurant called Cafe Claude, and we did a number of different things 20 some odd years ago, and it kind of played off and on together, not as a trio in a long time. So we called this a reunion, and I'm just really happy to be able to report that we decided to make this a fundraiser, this event a fundraiser for the World Kitchen. And this is Chef Andres. I'm blanking on his last name right now, but he's a great humanitarian who goes into these war zones and challenging places and provides meals. And I don't have the figure to report, but I know it was a four-figure situation. I think it was several $1,000s, I want to say. We definitely made over a couple $1,000s, and we're able to donate that to the World Kitchen. So this is a little bit of a piece. One of my favorite composers of all time, Thelonious Monk, on a song he wrote called Off Minor, and it's Darren Johnston and Marcus Shelby reuniting for peace and raising funds for the World Kitchen. That should be our next clip. moving along, probably. Yeah, we should move along. Maybe I picked too much clips, but that's just because I'm so into this collaboration. I really wanted to share as much of it as possible. That one, I mean, all these, like I said, they're available. That one, if you go to that song and just wait for the guitar player to get done playing, you're going to hear just a brilliant bass solo by Marcus Shelby. So you can go find that one up on YouTube and appreciate that. Collaboration saved my life. This is really kind of feels like an overstatement, and it definitely saved my mental health, and it saved my still being a musician. And this has to do with when we got shut down, and I'm used to being out and about and playing in the clubs 3-4 nights a week, whatever. And when all that went away, it was a real potential challenge to my mental health and my overall health as a result of that. And definitely could have leaned into, like, maybe I don't really want to play music anymore, because there wasn't a lot of joy being locked up. What I did for myself, though, is I gave myself a task, and I also want to thank the Community Music Center for this, because I was able to get a grant. They were putting out generous grants at the time for people that were working on music that reflected the pandemic. And I have a book. It's probably right behind me. I'm not going to dig around for it, but I've got a book of songs. I gave myself a writing task. All that time that I was not spending out playing with other people, I made it a daily practice to write music. And I wrote 20 some odd songs over the first few months of the pandemic, and was lucky enough to find 3 musicians who had a home studio such as that I had, and were willing to Zoom in and FaceTime with me and pass tracks back and forth and start recording some of that music. And it was just a way to pass time and try to feel good about music making and all that stuff. And it ended up turning into an album called Basement Sinfonietta. It's available, and it's not all the songs I wrote, but it's a good chunk of the songs that I wrote during that time. And what you're going to see is a clip of us playing this music for the very first time, because the way it worked is I would play sort of a demo thing, and then I'd send it off, and then I'd wait around, and then a week and a half later it would come back and there'd be a bass part. And I'm like, oh man, I should send that to the drummer. And we'd send it to the drummer, and you'd wait for 10 days. And then it was not this kind of process I'm used to, which is just like looking people in the eye and counting things off. So you're going to see a clip right now of this collaboration that I think it saved my life. It definitely saved me in a lot of ways. And this is the first time we ever got to play this music. We'd all played it by ourselves in our little basements, but we had never been in the same room playing the music. So this next clip is from Basement Sinfonietta.
So we're going to start with the first song on the album. This one's called Dark at Night.
Yeah, I think we're probably getting the idea on this one too. That's the idea of that. That's how that one goes. That's how that one goes. Dark at night. It was dark. It was getting dark. It felt a little dark when I wrote that one. I really want to try to get to a couple more clips, and I want to save time for your questions, so I'm going to hustle to this next one. It's a really unique collaboration because it's with a former student, and I don't want to take any credit for this gentleman's musical prowess. It just so happens that they were in my classroom for 4 years, but they were well on their journey to becoming the outstanding musician that they've grown into. And all I kind of did was nudge them on course once in a while. But this is something that we recorded over there with a young pianist and accordionist who's sort of world renowned. He was working for the State Department for a while. He was going overseas to try to bring joy to other countries and show American joy in other countries. His name is Sam Ryder, and we have a bassist, Dan Fabricant, and we could play that one. This is also just so different than anything else that we've played. If we play this clip real quick, it's a choro, and you don't often hear that on piano, but you're about to. You can go ahead and play it. Rosa by Pixagina. Live music. All right, we better cut this too. It's all available. If you ever want to hear Sam Ryder, it's really easy to find his music. He's doing great things. Great collaborator himself. I want to get to one tiny last clip because it's a little bit of a bookend. This is the second half of the night of my 20th anniversary at the Bird and Beckett bookstore. It's a totally different situation. If you think back to the first thing was a collaboration with Mike Olmos and a rhythm section playing straight ahead jazz. This is not that at all. It's a little bit more of a funky kind of situation. We actually covered a lot of different things with this group. And I wanted to share it with you because it's really my favorite kind of collaboration, which is playing in a rhythm section and comping. Comping is such a joy and such a blessing to have the opportunity to do for great improvisers. So it's a little bit of a song called "Mr. Clean" by Freddie Hubbard, and it's the soloist is Alan Williams. We have David Boyce on saxophone, Kirk Peterson on bass, Brian Rodvian on drums, and we'll just play a little bit of it, and hopefully I left enough time for questions, but just a few minutes of this, you can see how much fun it is to comp for other people. Alright, I guess we should probably wind it down. There's plenty of music. Anyway, I just want to really thank you all again for being here. Thank CMC for supporting this and supporting me all these years. And I'm so happy to answer any questions that you may have, and also invite you out to a third Friday. You never know what you're going to see. You notice there, every clip, no repeaters, 0 repeats. It was me. I was the only constant. There was no other musicians that were on any of those clips. that
I'm
were
coming.
theaters. All right, right on.
I'm coming, Scott. Yeah, I'm gonna go with, yeah, I'll be there for sure. No, that looks awesome. Thank you so much, Scott, for doing this and sharing your music and your inspirations with us. That's awesome. And we have, let's see. Oh, it's almost time to, okay, get straight to the questions. I think Sylvia had something that I posted a bunch of questions on there. And if it's just me and you talking about it later, I'll
Okay.
copy and paste them. And we can just get together. We can get together in the hall sometime. But Sylvia had a particular question. And then if we got time, we could look at some of mine. If anybody has any more, please let me know in the chat.
Yeah, I see some good questions here from different people. So thank you, Scott. Oh my gosh, thanks for sharing all of that. That was amazing. And something that struck me is, you talk about intentionally setting yourself up for learning, that you decided, I want to collaborate with these people and I can see how I can grow from these different collaborations. And so that was really cool to see how you were very intentional about that. And something I wanted to connect it to what I see in your classes on Saturday. And just any insight that you might share about your approach, how you translate that into your teaching, because what I observe about your students is they are all eager to learn. They are ready. They don't want to mess around. They just want to play, and they soak up the information. And you get kind of intense with jazz theory and you give them really hard music and they go for it. So how would you, if you had to summarize it in a nutshell, how do you create that community or that feeling that people are collaborating together and really creating a rigorous, fun learning environment?
Ooh, that is such a great question and compliment also. And I don't know, it's kind of magic, I'll be honest with you. A lot of it is just a sort of a natural feel, but with the things that I will say that that tie in, I think, is I wanted to create for myself, I wanted to create challenge. And that's really what I try to do for my students is I want to give them a sense of like, there's this really hard thing that's going to be really great and we can get there, and we're not there yet, but we're going to try to go there together. So I would say that's the main dovetail I see there, is just not being afraid to lean into challenge and recognizing that challenge is what's going to make us grow and make us better musicians and better people. So I just try to sell that as hard as I can.
Well, that's an easy sell in a way with the kids that want to work. That's awesome, man. I love that. I got to write that down. I want to hear the recording of this. That was, well, I had a list of questions there. If you could just look at them, unless someone.
Buzz Brooks put something in.
Buzz, I know, Buzz. I was just looking at Buzz's. My question is about the catch-22 situation I run into when trying to collaborate. Namely, you can't pitch a booker on getting a gig until you have an act. We kind of establish the act, so you got a gig.
Yeah.
I can call a number of piano players and say, let's celebrate, let's collaborate. But when's the gig? Yeah. I mean, that's a yeah. I'm sorry.
And I meant to talk about this at the top of really what a privileged situation I am in, and it's because of that, is because I can sell a gig every month. I can always say, we have a performance on the books. Let's try something. Let's do something different. Let's do some stuff together. Let's see what we can figure out. So, golly, I get that one. And gosh, stay in the struggle. Stay in the struggle. That is a really, really hard one. Get a small gig. Get something that's, low stakes, something small, but it's something you could say, hey, we got this date. The date on the calendar is such a big thing. I get it. And I recognize my privilege in that regard. I happen to be in a great situation to allow me to do all that.
And how do you find the musicians that we saw in all these videos? I noticed it's mostly, like you said, just you and like a bunch of other dudes. So, I mean, musicians. So how do you find them, and how do you decide, and how much work is it to put together these gigs? I imagine it's not easy.
I'm glad you appreciate that. I'm looking over here. I wish I could pan my camera over. I'll just grab a handful of them, but I have an entire bookshelf that looks like this, which is just, this is every once a month. It's a whole book of brand new material and a brand new band. And so in terms of finding them, I'm fortunate that I have been working in the Bay Area for a long time. And so I know a bunch of folks and have worked with them and can say to them, even on a gig, like, man, this is really interesting. Let's bring this to my Friday in a few months and make it happen. And others are aspirational, like I spoke about working with John Santos. I was trying to do a fundraiser for this great organization called Horns to Havana. And said maybe we can get Santos to get involved, and we did. So sometimes it's aspirational, sometimes it's I think Bruce Ackley was that way too, just like, hey man, I love your music, I don't know if you'd ever have time to do this or that. But then a good deal of it is like, hey, I've done gigs with you, and I like what you're doing, let's see if we can do something.
Yeah, well, that's great. Yeah, I just got back from Cuba myself, and they need horns down there and strings and everything. It's kind of rough. Well, I hate to say this because I'd really like you to answer all my questions that I wrote in the chat, but I think we're going to have to talk in the halls. Sylvia, do you have anything to say? I mean, let me just look at my notes real fast.
If anybody has anything that they want to send to me, probably the easiest way is scofo. Actually, my CMC email forward. So if you go for sfoster at sfcmc.org, sfoster at sfcmc.org, I'll be happy to get back with you with anything you want to talk about.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. I just want to thank you so much for doing this. That was awesome, man. I'm so happy. I'm always so like just flabbergasted to find out how cool our faculty is. And I assume that we're all good teachers, but to see the performance side of it and the performance aspect, and to see what the fellow faculty members can do, it's always, and just seeing the diversity, the type of music that you played, free jazz, Latin, standard, straight ahead stuff. It's just yeah, and you're a great guitar player. You never know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, really great. And well, and just to let people know, we're going to be here every 2 weeks and stuff. And so when is your next gig over at the Bird and Bird?
Bird and Beckett is going to be, it looks like March 17th is the third Friday. It's always the third Friday of the month at happy hour, 5:30 to 8. And it'll be something different every time. So if you hate it one month, come back the next month. It'll be different.
It'll probably be, yeah, you won't hate it.
Thank you, Cultural Traditions, and everybody at CMC for this opportunity. It's really been a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia and Julie, for helping us put this on. Big shout out to the folks in the administration too. I hate to see that word, but I guess. But thank you for helping us put this on. We got this because there was a partnership grant. This comes out of there's some money actually that's coming out of the gala in a couple of weeks. Is why I was talking about the gala, or else we wouldn't be doing this series.
Yeah, really.
So, yeah. And so, all right. Well, thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.
And we'll see everybody in a couple of weeks for Charlie Girk. All right, Scott, I want to talk to you. I got those questions for you. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Thanks, Scott.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I needed the inspiration.
Yeah, it was very inspiring.
Awesome.
Good. Thank you.
Take care.
All right, will do.